Hey, what's going on, AP government people? I am so excited with the new video series. I'm going to break down the curriculum into a series of videos. This one is video number 1, Constitutional Influences. Everything you need to know about what influenced the Constitution to succeed in AP government. Hopefully you remember some of these dudes from U.S. history. If not, I got you covered. You'll know by the end of this video and how they influenced the Constitution. All right, let's get started. So pre-Revolutionary War influences prior to 1776. Holy cow, you cannot talk about this without talking about the Enlightenment. This was a time period that really started in Europe and was European thinkers began to question and propose different forms of government. So they were really going against this idea of absolute monarchs and monarchies in general, and they really wanted people to have more power. Now, probably the most influential Enlightenment thinker, at least when it comes to American government, is this dude, John Locke, and he really influenced American thinking. So he had this idea of natural rights, that people were born with them, and they could not be taken away. And these 3 ideas he called life, liberty, and property. That should sound familiar because Thomas Jefferson uses his ideas and changes property to the pursuit of happiness. He also came up with this idea of the consent of the governed. Now, the word consent means to give your permission. So this idea is that the governed or the people give consent and they choose who their rulers would be. So it's really the people who have the power under this scenario. It's not the government. And the people are the source of all power, according to this theory. He also believed in a limited government with clear restrictions on what the government cannot do. He believed that the government must protect natural rights. They must make and post clear laws for everyone to follow and understand, and protect property. One theme of this course will be the protection of property. When the Constitution is written, there is so much in there about the protection of property. It was very, very important during the late 18th century that property must be protected. Locke also argued that revolt should occur only when injustices are severe. So he did say people have the right to rebel, but they shouldn't just rebel over anything. It's only when they are severe and they are occurring for a long time. Now, T-Pain, you remember him from U.S. history. He wrote Common Sense in 1776, and here is Thomas Paine. And he urged colonists to break away from England and the corrupt King George III, or KG3. His writing, Common Sense, was so influential. Many, many, many colonists read this, and they're like, you know what? He sounds kind of right. So let's break away. Let's declare our independence from England and use some of these ideas of John Locke. All right, so let's jump on over to the Declaration of Independence in 1776. It was primarily written by 33-year-old Thomas Jefferson, and there is Jefferson. And I want to take a moment and focus on this. He was 33 years old. This is a little hard for me because I am currently 33 and I have not written a Declaration of Independence. It's a little hard for me to grasp how monumental his ideas were at the age of 33. Adams and Franklin also contributed heavily to the Declaration of Independence, although Thomas Jefferson really kind of gets all the credit. Now, this justified the reasons for declaring independence, and it helped influence revolutions in other areas of the world, such as France and Latin America, but you already know that from U.S. history. Okay, the first government is the Articles of Confederation, and guess what? It failed. It didn't last long. So the Articles of Confederation were the first national governing document, and they were put into place by the Second Continental Congress, which is shown here. They created a very weak central government. In one word, the Articles of Confederation were weak. They created a weak central or national government. It created a unicameral, which means one body legislature. So there was only one lawmaking body with one vote per state that dominated the government. So it didn't matter how big or small the state was. Each state had one equal vote in this unicameral legislature. That will lead to problems we'll see when we talk about compromises at the Constitutional Convention in a future video. State legislatures had incredible power. And this is because they were really fearful of the British government. So we have a weak national government under the Articles of Confederation, but very strong state legislatures. There are several economic issues that emerged, including the federal government could not tax. They could ask for money. They could politely ask for money and say, hey, New York, we're kind of in debt. Do you mind giving us money? And New York would probably be like, no, bro, you're on your own. Each state could coin its own money, And they could also impose tariffs on trade from other states. That discouraged trade and led to all sorts of economic issues. Congress could not regulate commerce, interstate commerce between states. This would change in the Constitution, as we will see. Shays Rebellion happens in 1786, and this is a good representation of economic issues in the 1780s. This is actually Daniel Shays' house, and this was a typical farmer house in Massachusetts during this time. And many of these farmers were losing their homes due to farm foreclosures or not being able to pay a bank back for a mortgage. So Daniel Shays, who is this Revolutionary War veteran, he leads a bunch of people and they begin protesting this. And this rebellion lasted for several months, in large part because there was not a national military to stop it. Remember, the Americans had a fear of a standing national military. So many Americans after this, especially elites, they sought to revise the Articles. They said, you know what? The Articles, there's a lot of problems with it. We don't have a national military. We need to do something, so let's revise it. So they have a convention in Annapolis, also in 1786, to discuss issues with the Articles. Only 5 states showed up, and the hero of the convention is this dude, Alexander Hamilton from New York. He plays a very prominent role, and he gets other states to agree to have a convention the following May in 1787 in Philadelphia. So even though 5 states show up, he gets a promise from states that they will meet again the next year in 1787 in Philadelphia. Do you know what that turns into? You know it. It is the Constitutional Convention. All right, let's do a quick recap. The Enlightenment, know how that influenced our government, especially John Locke. We'll talk about other Enlightenment thinkers in the next video. Also know this idea of natural rights, consent to the governed, limited government, be able to identify that in different areas of our government. Thomas Paine and common sense, you got to know that one. The government under the Articles, what was it like? In one word, it was weak. And what were some reasons for its failure? Shays Rebellion, how did that affect the Articles of Confederation? And the Annapolis Convention, what was the purpose of it? Before we take off, I'll leave you with some test tips for multiple choice. Holy cow, know John Locke. Definitely know some characteristics of the Articles of Confederation and Shays Rebellion as well, don't forget. For free response questions, be able to explain state and national power under Articles and the Constitution, and we'll get to the Constitution part in future videos, and reasons for the creation of the Constitution. In other words, why did the Articles fail, and what were some underlying themes that are exhibited in the Constitution? All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you right back here for video number 2. We'll get into this Enlightenment thinker, Baron de Montesquieu, and his contribution of separation of powers. If you have not already, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Please share this with people, as there will be many more videos coming as well. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much, and have a good day.